Hi. So it's like 1 a.m. and I don't care. I'm tired. I fell asleep earlier, but I'm still up. So we're finally going to do it. We're going to go continue our Bryan Danielson AEW run series, and we're on to the big one, which is him versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World title at AEW Winter is Coming. This is one of the biggest matches in AEW history. Frankly, it's honestly, one of the best 60-minute matches I've ever seen. Probably the best, if you want my own. No, it's not the best, but it's one of them. And for how good Bryan Danielson's entire career catalogue is, this is right in his top half. It's one of his best matches. It truly is one of the best matches, in my opinion, of all time. And especially of AEW's history. The build and everything, like we've touched on with the Dark Order, Bryan going through all the Dark Order and, being as condescending prick of a human being that he is, builds this excellently. But, yeah, we'll get into it. So, our match obviously starts with the two of them entering the ring. They go instantly lock up. So, like I said, the match actually does go for 60 whole minutes, which is insane. It was a long-ass match. But I'm going to kind of break it into, how it evolves in segments, like every 10 to 15 minutes. First 10 to 15 is excellent in terms of it's just lockups, as you expect from the start of a match. It's not the quickest of matches, but it doesn't need to be. And they go in for lockups quite often. And Bryan being out of both technical wrestlers, Bryan's obviously the best. Bryan's the best technical wrestler of all time. So, for him to obviously get the upper hand on these technical advances is better, and he's still doing the cocky shit like he's been doing the Dark Order. He clearly didn't respect Hangman going into this. Like, he's doing the jumping jack after every lockup and stuff. He gets booed for the first time on entry and stuff. Like, truly booed, you can tell. And he's even a bit baffled, but you can tell he's happy with him, so it's great. Hangman's so over. But the lockups, I thought Hangman in this match specifically does very well. I love Hangman. Hangman's one of my favourites too. But with this match, I think, obviously, I'm there for Bryan. But for Hangman, it's like, okay, it's a bit weird, because I've seen this match before, completely candid. But with Hangman, I love Hangman. Hangman's one of my favourites. I never really realised how good of a technical wrestler he is. So when he actually got the technical wrestling so down, he really holds his own here. And the match has been, the expectation, I can only picture this for being, around the time. I can imagine, how much this exceeded expectations, probably. It was incredible. But, like I said, Hangman really holds his own with the technical wrestling aspect. Bryan obviously being the condescending prick, doing the, getting the upper hand and, when they've got space, doing the jumping jacks. A lot of arm work at the start. And then there's a point where Hangman kicks, I think he kicks, or it's either a chop or a kick, and he hits Bryan, and Bryan's, instantly goes, he's bewildered. It's similar to how he did it with, I think it was John Silver, where he's pissed, and he completely is like, okay, what the fuck? He did not think Hangman would be able to touch him, never mind hit him and affect him. So he does that, and then he starts doing the rope breaks. And that's kind of a big tale throughout the good bit about part of the match too. Bryan's very baiting in this match. Very baiting, especially in the first half, and towards the last round, but kind of dies at the last third, where he knows Hangman's got a temper, and he knows how much he's been picking at Hangman during this entire build with the Dark Order, going against them, picking all his friends off, essentially, like they're nothing, insulting all of them. So Hangman's obviously going to be fired up, and Bryan knows, if I can get this guy riled up and just, have that small window of him having a mistake with my technical abilities enough to take him down, which is true. So with Hangman, he's consistently baiting him, then getting the rope break right away. It's nuts. And one plays into that Bryan just being a piece of shit, which again I love, but also as a match, it really shows the intelligence of Bryan too. It's weird to describe, and Hangman handles it all so well. He doesn't really give into it, but you can tell he wants to. It's weird. Bryan's he's really mastering the art of it, and it's excellent. It's really good. So the second third of the match, really, I'd say, is where it becomes a lot more even, where the trading strikes a lot more, the trading there, a bunch of forearms especially. Hangman gets a few kicks in, sets a few, buckshots up and stuff. but it's a lot of Bryan get out of the way. It's no real upper hand to the match. There really isn't. It's very even, and that's what obviously is excellent about it. Is like it's a lot of there's a brilliant sequence, like a solid minute or two, where like they're just like it's just quick dodges, similar to like an Osprey segment. Well, sequence, sorry. And it's excellent. It's really excellent, but it's not like a quick one. It's just pure just technical, and it's really good. It's what you expect from Bryan, but again, it's always good to see Hangman at that technical level. It's mad to say, but he's never really seen as that or portrayed as that. You know what I mean? It's like Hangman's just more of a brute away. Sometimes I feel like that's what he's described as. He's an all-rounder, definitely. But as a technical wrestler, again, he's nowhere near the level Bryan. No one is. The only person who probably is Sabre Jr. So, and McGuinness, debatably. So, you know, it's hard for people to kind of be compared to Bryan in that aspect, but he holds his own. And again, it's excellent to see. There's a lot of stuff, like, again, the forearms and the kicks were the big thing. Again, there's not really a lot that, you know, I don't want to say there's not a lot that goes on. It's just a very razor-thin match, and I love it. I really do. I think it's very each way. You don't know which way. I've watched the match before, like I said, so I obviously know what way it went. But looking at it, it felt like I had a new perspective watching this time. And it's just like from an art, I hate saying it, but from an artful perspective, it's so good because it is just two Goliaths going at it. You look at it from Hangman's perspective. He's a piece of. He's going against this guy who took out all his friends. He's smiling about it. Says his friends are just basically condescending the fuck out of everyone, including him, the guy he's against. Doesn't respect them at all. And then if you look at it from Bryan's perspective, I think it's better from Bryan's perspective because it's a guy who you don't respect and he's earning that respect in a way, and I love that. And I again, there's no one really better who does that than Hangman. He does it against Moxley, in my opinion. Both feuds he had. But the second part of the match, I mean, you look at it, it's a lot of Hangman showing his strength, which was really good. There's a lot of Bryan's definitely getting not the upper hand, but the more strikes in, but Hangman's less strikes are more effective because there's so much more weight behind them. There's a lot of Bryan is clearly trying to rile him up throughout the match too. He's obviously going the rope breaks, like I said. He's constantly pushing him, you know, getting into his face and stuff. It's more the third end, last third of the match, but even throughout the second, he's, you know, getting more of that condescending shit in, a lot of the kicks, and it's even when they're in the corner out of the ring, Bryan will get in the chop and then Hangman will switch and then, you know, they'll into the chop. That's the perfect way to describe this match. It's just so razor thin. It can go either way, and it's excellent. It's excellent about that. I think that's what makes it great. The crowd will love it. The crowd's emotions are all throughout the match, especially at the end. But just in general, again, I really commend it because it's not trying to be some incredible. Honestly, I don't say this is a bad thing at all. I love Will Ospreay, but it's not trying to be a Will Ospreay match where it's insane speed, like a Ricochet. It's not or Lucha match. It's not trying to be that. It's trying to be a pure technical war, essentially, but not like a technical war like Bryan versus Sabre. It's more against it's more. I don't know how to describe it. It's a weird match, but it's excellent. Again, everyone knows of its legends, most likely, and it's just. I think it's deserving of its status. I do. I think the only thing I can really say that I do wish we had, it was a bit more brutality from Hangman, but I don't think we get it. And I'll go into more of it at the end, but in general, I feel like Hangman, it's definitely pre-Swerve Hangman. I don't say it as a bad thing, but I love Swerve era and beyond Hangman a lot more. So, not a bad thing, but, you know, personal preference. So a lot of stuff, again, Bryan does a lot of, he does a lot of head work and a lot of kick work. And again, there's still some lockups and stuff. He goes for, you know, the odd pin. That's what really gets the crowd reacting throughout the match, is the pins and the kickouts. But again, especially in the third. I'd separate it by the third being, last 20 minutes, 15 minutes, I'd say that's kind of when Bryan has him on the outside of the ring. He's getting a lot of knees to the back, knees to the head and stuff. Knees to the back of the head, and he picks up Hangman. And he does the McGuinness spot with Hangman near enough, where he gets it's not direct, it's not the exact same as the McGuinness spot, where he has Hangman on the pole, ready to go, and rags him forwards, and Hangman's head just fucking hits off the pole. Then, obviously, it's during an ad break, so Hangman's outside the ring, clearly doing a blade job, and Bryan's winding up the crowd, doing his jumping jacks again, going like that to the crowd, flipping them all off. It's brilliant. And then Hangman's obviously bleeding, and after that point, Bryan's just, like, going at him. He's putting a lot of, doing, like, the kicks against, like, putting his foot on Hangman's face, getting a rope break, doing the I have until 5, shit like that, and I love that. But, like, that's when Bryan really takes control, and there's a point where, like, it's when he's doing chops, and he does, he's doing, what was it? I think it's like it's not a psycho knee. He does this, I forget what the exact move was off the top of my head. Again, it's late, so I'm tired. But, I feel like I've dropped the ball on this, but whatever. I'll be wanting to do it for a while. They're doing it, and then Hangman breaks it, and then it's a slap, and then, it's kind of Hangman breaking through that. It's the perseverance of Hangman, and even when he's, like, beyond fucked at this point, like, the guy's been through it again, he's bleeding, it's not a heavy blade job, but, he's bleeding, and Bryan's definitely got the upper hand. Bryan should win it, and he doesn't. This is when the final fit, every kick out is so good, because you don't expect every kick out to be so effective, because there's not that many in the match. There's like 3 in the first 2/3 of the match. There's like not 8 or anything, but there's a lot more. So it kind of makes them all effective. It's crazy how the match goes, and then it just becomes not a spot fest. That's what I really respect about it. It doesn't become a spot fest. It just becomes a true. It stays to its core a wrestling match, not just a finisher. Don't be wrong, like, they do hit finishes, but not like the insane, like, Hangman hits a tombstone really on Bryan. That was excellent. The reversals Bryan gets in this match overall throughout the entire match are excellent, obviously. The dead eye, the psycho knees, stuff like that, everything about it. The flying headbutts from Bryan still, I hate it, because I love the flying headbutts, but, I don't want Bryan Danielson to be doing flying headbutts, even though this is in, like, it's, 4 years ago now, nearly 5. It's like, I don't want, the flying headbutt's not got a great reputation, has it? That's the thing, it hasn't. So, and then the match just continues to elevate. The crowd are hot. The crowd know it. Like, every time it's getting closer and closer, it's like, you're like, how is this going to end? How is this genuinely going to end? Who's winning? And the ending, the finish is excellent, where Hangman basically gets it over on Bryan. Bryan's, he has, there's a lot of, the moonsaults Hangman does. He does 2 specifically, and the air that he gets is incredible. Truly, it's incredible. But the finish is, mainly, Bryan finally goes, it's time to get his head, he's going to kick his fucking head in, which he done to all the Dark Order members, which, even kicked out, I think it was Colt Cabana's teeth. Was it Colt's or Alan Angel's? Point is, he kicked one of the members' teeth out. This is the point, like, that was the whole thing about Bryan with the Dark Order, this running, which was excellent, is he was kicking the heads in. And, again, love that move. But he was doing that to Hangman, so that was, like, a big thing, like, oh, shit. And then, after that, Hangman was able to, not reverse it, but kick out of it eventually, and then done it to Bryan himself, and the crowd loved that, because he's doing it with the heel of his cowboy boots, so it looked a bit more brutal. It was sick. And then after that, Hangman's able to set up the buckshot, and he goes for the buckshot, lands the buckshot. He lands a few buckshots, but, and I will say, the way they are sold, there's one specific, I think it might have been this one, where Bryan just flips. It's incredibly sold. But in terms of all of it, I mean, the buckshot he lands in this match. I love the buckshot lariat anyway. It's one of my favourite moves. But that I love. I love them in this match. They're so effective. Again, get someone like Bryan, an opponent like that, I mean, it's always going to be sold excellently. But then he goes for another and gets kind of greedy. Bear in mind, it's so close to the wire at this point, and they're both absolutely fucked. They're gassed out. And he goes, fuck off, hits the buckshot, very effective. And they're both on the ground, and he's crawling towards the pin, and the bell goes. The crowd hate it. Bullshit, everyone's screaming it. Both guys are on the floor. Hangman just gives up. Like, normally you'd expect them to just continue fighting. They don't. They're both that tired. So, and that's how the match ends. They like, Hangman gets to, like, Hangman looks tired throughout the match. Bryan kind of gets it, because obviously he's doing the jumping jacks and stuff, but Hangman takes a lot more of a beating than Bryan, I'd say. Especially with the bleeding spots through the pole. Even though Hangman does give it back, Bryan doesn't have to run the blade. And it ends as a 60-minute time limit draw, Hangman being retaining with the AEW Men's World Championship. I thought this match truly, it deserves the status it does. It's truly one of the best matches in all AEW's history, especially on Dynamite. It was Hangman's first defense of his first reign, so that's a big thing. But in general, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's truly got no reason to be as technical as it is. I think it's a true great show out of Hangman too. I think that's the big thing for me. It's a really big show out for Hangman Page, which, again, we all know how good Hangman is now. But I don't want to say back then we didn't know, because we obviously did. But I feel like, again, I said this in the Derby video, I feel like the AEW World Champs, and, you know, how many there's been now, should all be able to be quite high level and just about a bunch of other terms of wrestling. Whether that be, you know, technical wrestling, high flying, you know, deathmatch, stuff like that. You look at people like Jon Moxley can do it all. Kenny, obviously, Bryan, Swerve, Max, you know, and especially, but Hangman, I think this is the one for me that, even watching it back after watching it a while ago now, I was happy to go back to this. That's why I've really been looking forward to watching this one. Obviously because of the status, but also I really wanted to rewatch this. I really, really realise, to me, this felt like Hangman's true showing out of a technical wrestler. And again, he's not like the same as, you know, he's never going to be categorised as that, I don't think. But I think it's more like, you know, you just respect that aspect that he can have a technical masterclass. And like, again, most wrestlers are technical. Obviously, you've got to be technical to be that high level. But, you know what I mean? Like, Bryan, technical. Zack Sabre Jr., technical. You know, you want to even, not Darby, you know, you look at people like Jack Perry, Garcia. They're more technical wrestlers to me, rather than like, you know, by category, by design. And I don't think Hangman gets that credit because, again, his stuff is more, his most notable stuff is definitely death matches, but also just brutality. And so I feel like this match, again, a lot of it's Bryan, but also I think Hangman does excellently here. And it's great because these are two of my favourite wrestlers of all time. It's my favourite of all time against another one of my favourite all time, really. So it's phenomenal. It really is. And again, it has a status, and it deservedly so. It's Winter is Coming. It's one of the first biggest matches I can remember. You know, just I can remember AEW having, like, you know, early AEW is such a special thing too, because you just had random shit going on. Like, they even advertised, like, the Dynamite Diamond Ring match in this in this card. I didn't watch it. Was MJF versus Dante Martin, and like, don't get me wrong, that's a sick match, but it's also like, that's following Hangman versus Bryan. That's insane. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how early AEW was. And I love that. But this is truly a dream match of all dream matches. And for me especially, again, it's two of my favourites ever. So I really, really love this. Again, if you've not watched this one, again, it's a 60-minute. So it's, I think as well, I will say, a 60-minute match is so hard to sit through without losing attention, losing, you know, true intrigue. And because a lot of the time when it's a 60-minute, a lot of the time you know it's going to end in a draw in some way. And obviously if you have to go to sudden death or whatever. But if you didn't, you know, I really think this is I think this is really effective. I think it's not my favourite 60-minute match ever. It's not. It's up there, but it's not. I feel like there's one, and you can probably guess what it is. And we'll talk about it much later in this series. But you can probably guess what it is. So, with this, though, I feel like this match really keeps your interest a lot. I feel like it's a lot due to character work with Bryan. There's a lot of, he's not as condescending. There's definitely more respect for Hangman than there is for Evil Uno, but there's still not respect. I think he still thinks Hangman isn't the guy, and I love that Hangman proved that in this match. I feel like if there wasn't a time limit draw and they weren't both fucked, he would have shown respect to Hangman. But, you know, whatever. Maybe not, because, you know, heel Bryan's just a dick. But, you know what I mean? I feel like, just in general, this match really, really shows how just high level these two guys are. And again, it doesn't drag. It doesn't It doesn't feel overstuffed. It doesn't feel like it's padded. It doesn't. There's a lot of stuff in it that works. It feels like it's got a natural flow and a natural build. And I feel like, again, for a 60-minute, that's very hard to do. And it's more of a credit to how good these two are. And it's got a legacy for a reason. Truly, it has. It's one of the best Dynamite matches ever. Truly. It's definitely Bryan's best match in AEW thus far. I think it's better than the Kenny match. I think a lot of people would agree. I think this is better than Kenny match. And that's close to me because I love the Kenny match too. And I do love this. I love the Suzuki match. I love the Suzuki match a lot. So I think this is, so far with what we've covered, this is the best. Not far off Kenny, but it's above the Suzuki. And that's like my metric at this point, where it's like Suzuki match is excellent. But yeah, Bryan's title shot was a 60-minute time limit draw. So we'll be going, obviously, to our next video with Bryan. We'll be like, well, what's next and how we go from there. But it's good. We're getting, like, I feel like this is the real... After the Kenny match so far, like, even though I love the Suzuki match and the Kingston match and stuff, and even the Dustin Rhodes match, it feels like we just kind of just, you know, had Bryan have Kenny, then kind of just done nothing with that, really. They had the match on the Dynamite, it was, with the, you know, the four-way with Jurassic Express and Christian. But then he just kind of got through into the Full Gear tournament, won that, but then it feels like, as good as the Miro match was excellent too, the Miro match I fucked with. This is better than the Miro match, and I love that match. But it feels like this has been his true story, and the build, again, I feel like this is a lot of credit to the build. I feel like I enjoyed this match a lot more, even though it's phenomenal anyway in its own right. You need the build between Uno, Alan Angels, Goblin Baby John Silver, and fucking and Colt Cabana, just going through all these guys, just, you know, and the interactions with him and Hangman during it. Oh, it really makes this match a lot more effective. And for what the whole goal of this entire walkthrough, but, you know, watching every one of Bryan's matches in AEW, for me, this is one of the exact reasons it elevates these matches. It makes it a lot more effective. And, like, it's really good. This match is really good, but I'm just trying to say, like, go and watch, I'm glad that I was never really going to watch Bryan Danielson versus Evil Uno. You know what I mean? So the fact that I was able to watch that for this and then get a lot more of a interest, and then also just, I don't know, like a lot more weight, you know what I mean? Like, Bryan kicking people's heads in, I love anyway. But then, because of what he's done into the Dark Order and each one of them, it makes it a lot more effective. And that's just basic wrestling anyway, but the point is, I'm glad that I'm doing this for this type of thing. Even though this match is legendary and phenomenal in its own right, the fact that I got this extra perspective, how it's kind of intended to be, it really helped me and it really made a difference. I do recommend being able to watch the Dark Order run through before this. I don't think they didn't show a highlight before Dynamite, because this was the opener. It opened on a 60-minute and a 2-hour show. That's incredible, and it was incredible itself. So, I really love this. Please, if you've not watched this one, watch it. But again, the point is, I recommend watching the Dark Order stuff before, because it's worth it. It's so good. So yeah, that's our latest match with Bryan Danielson. I forgot what number we're on. Again, it's 1 AM. I'm tired. Probably about 1:30 now. But yeah, next time we'll be looking at our next Bryan match. And I'm going to start just doing normal match watches anyway. Like, non-Bryan and non, like, you know, just single match videos for the channels and stuff. So look forward to that, I guess. And if you've watched this match, please let me know what you thought, because I adore it. I really love this match. And this is... Where does this rank for you in 60-minute matches that you've seen? Because I think this is possibly, technically quality, the best I've ever seen, but it's not my favourite. And we'll get into that much later down the road.